Good afternoon, and I'm so glad you came for the after lunch slot. I'm very impressed, thank you. The reason I'm here is because I work with Josh, who's coming after me, on the Stelios Awards for Disabled Entrepreneurs. And you might ask yourself, well, why is a disabled entrepreneur particularly, interesting, different from anyone else? And so the thing you have to ask yourself is, actually, what is disability and how does it affect us? And I suppose the quickest thing to say to you is 1 in 5 of us will have a disability in our lifetimes, which is quite a lot of us. So it's like your granny, maybe, yes, okay, sister, brother, it could be you. And the other thing that's very interesting is that 95% of us will have a disability once we start getting into our older years. So it's something that affects all of us, all of the time. And I work for a charity called Leonard Cheshire, who works with Stelios, who founded EasyJet, who specifically look at disabled people and entrepreneurship. Why is entrepreneurship really useful for disabled people? Well, one, we can come up with solutions that are particular problems. So how to get in and out of an airplane seat, or how to read an iPhone with particular technology. But it's also because sometimes disabled people want to have their own flexibility in time. They might not want to fit into a 9-to-5 job. So it's many aspects of entrepreneurship that are sort of suited. So I just wanted to quickly tell your friends, I'm literally here to do the show about the Stelios show, and then you can have the far more interesting Josh. Basically, please go to our website. There's a lot of information on there. It's Leonard Cheshire /Stelios, and it's www.leonardcheshire.org/Stelios. Basically, there's a lot of money floating around. There's £100,000 we're giving away this year to back ideas, either by disabled people, it can be just any idea, or ideas that are for disabled people. So there's the main prize 30 grand, second prize is 10 grand, 5 grand, and then we've also got something called the Judges Prize, which is if you don't fit normal judgy business world, we might consider you for the £10,000 Judges Prize. And the thing that we get every year is amazing. The amount of ideas that we get, it's extraordinary. We've had ice cream vans, we've had airport seats, we've had an app to help people with mental illness, we've had a lithium battery that lasts for a week so you don't have to charge it again. It's quite phenomenal, the kind of things we get. So it's really to show you that disability doesn't really prevent you becoming an entrepreneur, a businessman, or to enact your ideas. It's all very well having ideas, but it's actually enacting them. So I guess 2 messages for you today from me. One is Leonard Cheshire. We are the disability charity, and we work in partnerships with different people. We're working with Sir Stelios. And secondly, please let people know about our prize if they've got a clever idea. We've handed some leaflets out. But the most important, and the reason you're here today, is to meet Josh. He won the 2018 Stelios Prize, and within a week of winning the prize, he went into business. So I'd like to present Josh Wintersgill.
Who's clicking?
Oh, clicking, me. Yes, rubbish helper, sorry.
Thanks, Lena.
Yes, you trained me earlier.
Okay, so before I start, I'd just like to thank Leonard Cheshire, who work in conjunction with the UK Disabled Entrepreneurs Award. Without them setting up the Disabled Entrepreneurs Awards, I most certainly wouldn't be here now in front of you guys. So a thank you to them, and also Peter Jones Enterprise Festival today. They've kindly allowed me to come and present to you guys in the room, and hopefully all of you hopefully will take something away today from my presentation. So there's 3 things that I really want to sort of, get across today to you guys. Is one, to understand what we mean by perseverantia, tempus, and why. Explain to you a little bit about my journey as a young entrepreneur, which is very new, and to talk a little bit just briefly about the rapidly changing world and how it's important to certainly the younger generation going forward. So these are the 3 words: why, tempus, and perseverantia. I'm going to go through them now. So if we could go to the next slide, please. Has anybody in the room heard of the golden circle at all? Then that is a definite no. So Okay, Marion, you've heard of it, have you? Excellent. So a gentleman called Simon Sinek, who, for the younger generation, or even anyone really, I suggest looking him up online. He had a book called Start with the Why, and through his research, he defined what we call the golden circle. So if you could go again, Selena. So essentially, there's three things to this golden circle. It's why, how, and what. And interestingly, the what and the how is driven by why we do what we do. And I think it's very important as you grow up to really kind of think about why you actually do something in the first place, rather than necessarily being driven potentially by money. So, you look at a lot of new entrepreneurs that are coming out now, they're very driven by potentially social impact. And hopefully you'll see through my product, it's not just about money. So I think for you guys just to think about why you do what you do, because when you know why you do what you do, your hows and your whats can come after that. So for those of you who wondered what tempus is, it's actually an Old English term for time. And I think it's quite ironic now in the modern era that time is so important now with things changing so quickly. And one of the things from my own personal experience with my condition, which I'll briefly mention shortly, is actually time becomes very important with my condition. And I kind of use that as a motivation actually to really drive and push myself forward. And that helps me to sort of hopefully, get to where I am today. No, that's fine. You can go to the next slide. The next one is perseverantia. So it's actually a Latin term for perseverance. Now I could have just put perseverance and time and on the slides, but I thought we'd do a bit of research and kind of understand the different terminologies of these words. And actually perseverance again relates to me quite strongly, and I hope you take away from today why do we persevere with things that we do. So for instance, with my disability, because of the deterioration, there's this kind of sense of you have to persevere, you have to do what you believe in, and which in a way correlates back to my why. So if I know why I'm doing it and I understand what perseverance is and sort of learning how to get around problems that you face in your day-to-day life, and you put the two together and they're actually quite powerful. And also purpose. If we understand, again, purpose goes back to our why. If we have a purpose and we know what that is, our why will then drive that purpose essentially. So to sort of set some, okay, so I'm going to start on the left-hand side. So that was me there when I was, how old was I there, Nan? So I was about 7 there, and that was me standing next to a horse. And you can now see that I'm actually, in my wheelchair, and I'm in my wheelchair all day, every day now. And I was confined to my wheelchair since I was about 10. And I was kind of brought up to, try and go out there and do everything and, just be like everybody else, given, my condition, which is spinal muscular atrophy, which is a muscular wastage condition. And it progressively gets worse. So as I get older, my arms are going to become less mobile, almost like similar to sort of Stephen Hawking's in the way, he got MS and really started to deteriorate, but the condition affects me slightly differently. Up there as well, I graduated, so I went to university at the University West of England. I did an information technology management for business degree, did that for 4 years, graduated with a first class honours, and then I started a job in cyber security for a company called DXE Technology. I did that for about 3 years upon graduation, and then some strange thing happened. I was on holiday and I was reading the book, funnily enough, Start with the Why, by the pool with my nan. And it kind of got me thinking about why am I doing a cyber role? What's driving me to get out of bed every day and go and do my job? And actually, funnily enough, I couldn't answer why, because I don't really know why I was there. It was almost like I couldn't see what my input into the organisation, in terms of the input, what my output was. And through this book, I identified a problem. So if we could go to the next slide, Selena, please. So if I just draw you to the picture in the middle at the bottom, it's almost a seat. So I've been travelling since I was 21, I'm 24, 25 now. I've been travelling. Nan's fortunately taken me away since I was a young lad. As I've got older with the condition, transferring on and off aircraft has become a significant problem. And so I created this device. I've turned it around within 18 months to 2 years now. And what happened was, Selena alluded to it earlier with the Disabled Entrepreneurs Award. I'm just conscious of time. And it was very odd, actually. I was going through Twitter one night after meeting somebody at Heathrow Airport who mentioned Leonard Cheshire, and I was scrolling through Twitter after I created my Twitter account for the company, and Leonard Cheshire popped up, and it was a Disabled Entrepreneurs Award, and I thought, well, actually, I've got a detailed business plan, I've got a concept, so why don't I apply for it? So I applied for the awards, and cut a long story short, I presented to Stelios and his team during the awards. We got £30,000, which is a significant amount of money. We were guaranteed 10,000 anyway. And then, like Selena said, a week after that, Stelios invited me back to London, said, hey, do you want to do a brand license deal with me? I said, okay, why not? He said, can I make the seat orange? I said, you're definitely not making my seat orange, but I'll take your branding. And so he kindly agreed to it because he saw the potential. And he also invested into the business for an equity stake in the firm. And so I think the story behind that is actually gives disabled entrepreneurs a platform that they wouldn't necessarily have had without the likes of Stelios being there. And like I said earlier, without him, I wouldn't be here, and Leonard Cheshire. So we then launched under Easy Travel Seat. So for all of those who know easyJet, that is the type of person that I'm dealing with in terms of getting my business off the ground. So it's quite surreal. I would never have said in 25 years that I would have my own business, although it was a passion of mine. But to let alone to have the founder of easyJet investing, and it's quite weird actually because I live near Bristol Airport, and every day I see easyJet planes flying over my house, and I'm thinking I feel like at home every time I see an easyJet plane, and I'm thinking I would never have thought that. So it's very strange. And then on the end there you've got Claire, who's a GB Paralympic boccia team player. And she used my seat, and what was really nice was she contacted me after using it, and she said it was the most comfiest and most dignified flight that she's ever had, because what happens when you go to the airport, they pick you up under your arms and legs and actually lift you physically onto the plane, and with certain disabilities that is a real big issue, and globally, just so you know, there is no product like this on the market. We are now we're patent pending, which so we've got a bit of intellectual property there, which is quite nice, along with the brand license deal. So just very quickly, for all of you who know, automation and artificial intelligence is very big now. There's a lot of focus on it, and I think what's interesting about it is it's created this rapidly changing world and drives the need for change. And I think for the next generation coming through is to understand how do you adapt to change on a regular basis. We all go through change in our own, separate ways. But in order to really understand it, I believe you need to have a clear why of why you do what you do. An appreciation of time, because everything is changing every day, so you need to be able to adapt. And finally, I think you need to have perseverance. We live in a society now which is particularly challenging, and there's a lot of pressure on people now. So perseverance is becoming more and more important. And actually, if you do a bit of research and looking at the word perseverance, it actually deteriorated a lot until sort of the mid-2000s in terms of how often that word was used. And now we're seeing a spike, and that's been driven by social media. So it's very interesting. So I'm getting close to the end now. So does anybody have an idea who this might be or could be? Okay, so if we go to the next slide. Oh, who said? Close. So if we go to the next. Steve Jones, did you say, Emma? No. So, yeah, so it's. I don't believe it's actually Steve Jobs, but I'll tell you why I put that picture there in a minute. So Steve Jobs said before he passed away was that he was convinced about what separated, or half of what separated successful entrepreneurs from just general entrepreneurs is pure perseverance. So I believe that person on the board, for certainly you kids up there, you guys are the next generation. And you guys could potentially come up with the next idea like Steve Jobs. And I think it's very important that you consider those three things today. So anybody in the room as well, when you do leave today, just ask yourselves, why do you do what you do? Have an appreciation of time, and understand perseverance. So that's it from me. I hope you found that useful. And I think next up is Ron. So thank you. Oh, Q&As. Sorry. Has anybody got any Q&As for me, please? Go on, Emma. So it's not for the airlines to purchase. It's for individuals to purchase themselves. I've spoken to various airlines who don't necessarily want to entertain purchasing the product, but they really see the indirect benefits that the product has by having disabled people turn up to the airports with the product already in their chair in terms of turnaround time. So I hope going forward that what I'm working on at the moment is I'm working with British Airways. We've obviously already got easyJet on board and various other airlines in the UK to really get behind it and raise awareness so that disabled people are aware of the product and then hopefully purchase. Yes.
Are there any drawings or photographs of the seat itself that we can understand why it's so comfortable, why it's easy? I can understand you could lift it on and off,
Yes.
not some sort of framework.
Mm.
But what makes it, do they have to adapt the seats in the aircraft?
It's a very good question. So no, essentially, what it is we've combined in the medical world. We've combined essentially 3 products into one. It not only does it act as a manual handling device, but it's used to connect with hoist to transfer patients within the home setting. But also, it actually has a medical cushion inside the device that helps provide pressure relief that passengers wouldn't necessarily get when they're going onto the aircraft. And so what we've done is we've brought all of those elements together into one solution, which really makes us particularly different from anything else that's on the market.
I think it would be very useful if when you're doing another presentation you had one of these seats with you so that we could all understand it, because it does sound fascinating.
Yeah, sure. No, thank you very much. I do normally wear it when I go to the airports and have the conversations with special assistants. But let's leave that one there. I'll do that next time. So thank you for the advice. You can check it out on easytravelseat.com, and there you can actually see a video of the seat in action. Time was a bit of an issue, and I really wanted to get more across to the students, more about the story to take away from. What can they use in entrepreneurship rather than necessarily what the seat does. So that was the main point today. Another question?
Just one. It's more one of interest, and if we don't have time, we can talk afterwards.
Sure.
I mean, the seat's amazing, and I can see how it works because I've watched that process with people, and it can be a little evasive. Have you had to do work with the airlines to explain them how they use the seat, and to make sure that they were comfortable, given it's a different process than, they have very kind of stringent processes. Has that been an encumberment in any way?
We've worked with the airlines. We've worked with special assistants who actually do the lifting, all of whom absolutely love the product. One of the you're right in terms of the requirements with the airline. One of the things that had to be considered was the width of the seat because of the aisles. We also had to be very careful about impinging on other passengers on the aircraft. So you can't have a device that is, for instance, impinging exactly. And so we were constrained to the requirements, so to speak. But what was interesting was that I looked at how the market operated, and it was very much focused on the airports and the airlines providing equipment for disabled people, but not enough of them do that. And so it causes a massive problem for disabled people when they travel outside of the UK. And so what I've done is disrupted the market by actually giving a product that is designed for the consumer rather than the operational staff, but the operational staff can still use it. And so you've then got the benefits for the customers. You've got happy operational staff because it means they've got passengers turning up to the airport with a device that's ready to go, which helps turnaround times. And so the airlines love it because the chances are, that passenger isn't going to be stranded at another airport that doesn't have anything.
It's almost a little reverse disruption.
Correct.
It's for good,
Yes.
and the people doing it's for good, but they've got to figure out how to adapt.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, you've got it in one, which is why the airports and the airlines like it, because in a way it's putting the emphasis on the passenger to take more responsibility. And when you speak to the airlines, it's all about, passengers, you have to take your responsibility when you go flying. It's down to you to arrange your ticket, how you get on, etc. So it's it's a good one. Any other questions?
Just a thought. I used to work in the motor racing industry, and we worked with Lear Corporation to make the seats that
Come out the cars.
that lifted out the cars. Have you had any sort of thought about working with someone like the Lear Corporation or even from one team?
I haven't, no. So if
Speaks me up.
Yeah, please, that'd be great. We are working with we've got a few partners on board at the moment, but it's more around postural seating and things like that rather than other uses. Obviously, there is an acknowledgement from a lot of people that this seat can actually be used not only just in aviation, right? It can be used for, cars. I used it when we went to Sweden, actually, to transfer into a car. It can be used to get onto boats, in and out of potentially pools, balloons, helicopter rides. So now one of my things is I really want to go to Las Vegas. Nan's she doesn't want me to go yet. She wants me to keep working harder. But I'm going to get there. And one of the things I want to do is get on a helicopter and actually go over the Grand Canyon. And now it can be done. So, yeah. Any more? No? Great, thank you. Thanks.